Hey, what's up everybody, Nexil here. Today we're playing Kingdom Hearts Union Cross and we're going to be talking about the Supernova Plus Xemnas B banner that just dropped last week in Global. Now I know we have a lot of catch-up work to do. We will be doing videos on the Final Fantasy VII Remake banner as well as the Sorcerer and the Reaper banner, so no worries, those are coming. But for now we're going to be talking about the Xemnas B banner. So as always, we will do our banner analysis, we'll talk about the medal, the draw odds, and finally my thoughts and recommendations on whether or not I think you should be pulling for this medal. So with anything that you have to spend jewels on, you want to see how long until the banner goes away. So in this case, you have until July 24th to decide if you want to pull for Xemnas B before he goes away. That's a lot of time to think about it. Even though I'm posting this pretty much a week late, you still have 10 days to decide if you want to pull. So really give it some thought. Think about the other banners. A lot of them go away around July 23rd to July 24th. So maybe something's coming July 25th. And remember, we do get a notice of things that are coming up the night before around 8 p.m. PST. So I would wait until July 24th, 8 p.m. PST, see if something's coming out the 25th, and decide from there. You always want to wait till the last day because remember, you want to see everything that's available to you. So maybe there's an awesome avatar board. Maybe there's some traits in the Moogle shop that you need to buy. So always wait until that last day. In terms of the banner itself, it's going to cost you 3,000 jewels to pull once, and with every single pull, you are going to get 3 Kingdom Hearts 3 medals, which are generally going to be used for sub-slots. You're going to sell them for draw points, or you're going to be keeping them for niche abilities such as Anti-Aqua's 100% Magic Reflection. You'll also be getting 1 trait medal with every single pull for Xemnas B, and then you'll also be getting 6 5-star or higher medals, which again will generally be used for sub-slots, or you're going to sell them for draw points. In terms of the other stuff, you do get 10 VIP coins with every single pull, and that's actually important because remember, VIP coins can be used for any banner that is active until the end of July. They do expire at the end of the month. But for example, let's say you already have something like a Final Fantasy VII Remake Tifa, and you just need to fix a few traits here and there. You can use VIP coins from the Xemnas B banner on that Tifa in the avatar board. So that's a pretty sweet deal. Remember that your VIP coins are not locked to the medal that you are pulling for. You'll also be getting 3 speed gems with every single pull. Again, just a nice little bonus because you're spending 3,000 jewels. And it is a 5-pull mercy, meaning that you do need to spend 15,000 jewels just to guarantee yourself 1 copy of Xemnas B. Now let's go ahead and talk about the medal itself. So this is Supernova Plus Xemnas B. He's going to be a tier 10 reverse speed medal with a base strength of 49,011, which is going to be one of the new standards that we've been seeing with the past few medals. So for example, KR24 and Master Xehanort both had a strength of about 49,000. So what we're going to do in this video, we're going to talk about new standards that we expect to see with every single medal that comes out from here on out. So a base strength of 49,000, which again is the new standard, a base defense of 21,591, nothing special there. Unfortunately, defense stat hasn't really been a big piece of playing this game. In terms of the multiplier, it goes as low as 19.44, going up to 20.54, which is actually sort of a bad thing, because the damage plus condition for this medal is going to be 1 enemy or 0 parts left. That means if there's only 1 enemy left, you're going to be getting that 20.54 multiplier. But if there's even 2 enemies, so for example, a boss enemy plus a barrier master, you're going to be hitting that 19.44, meaning that you're going to be hitting that 19.44 multiplier a lot, and that actually hurts the medal quite a bit. In terms of the gauge cost, it's a gauge cost of 2, which is pretty nice because that's a low gauge cost. Even with extra attack, you're only spending 4 gauges to activate this medal twice. That means you can use just a regular attack boost max skill. So you don't need something like attack boost max gauge 1 or attack boost max gauge 0, just because 2 gauges, even 4 gauges, restoring that is actually pretty easy with something like an HD Xion or a Kingdom Hearts 3 Naminé or a Kingdom Hearts 3 Kyrie A. The medal does 13 hits, which is actually not good. I actually don't like medals that do a lot of hits because they're not particularly good for raids, they're not good for off-hours Lux building, and they're not good for anything that's speed-based. So that's actually a big hit to this medal because it does 13 hits that also affect count, and that is a big deal that it affects count. 13 hits with extra attack, we are looking at 26 hits that affect count. That means if you run across an enemy that has like a blue hit counter of 15, this medal with extra attack is going to bring that down to 0, and it is going to proc that counterattack, and that can hurt this medal a lot. That means that this medal has to be at the end of your setup when it comes to enemies that have blue counter, because if you get counterattacked, likely you're going to get knocked out or you're going to get hit with some sort of special ailment, and you definitely don't want that when it comes to consistency. So 13 hits is really, really bad, especially when they affect count. In terms of the special attack, it's going to hit all enemies, and for 1 turn, it is self-buffing for reverse speed. That means it covers all of your buffs for general, reverse, and speed, and then it covers all the debuffs on all enemies for general, reverse, and speed. So that's always good to have a medal that is self-buffing. It'll also give all speed medals that come after it a base strength increase of plus 8,000, and like I was saying earlier, this is going to be part of the new standard. So far we're looking at a new standard of strength that's around 49,000, and then a special attack that gives plus 8,000 strength to a particular attribute. It also gives special attack bonus plus 220%, which isn't as important because remember, supernova attacks, once you activate them, will give you plus 300 special attack bonus or plus 320 special attack bonus. Remember that those effects don't stack. So if you activate this medal, that gives you plus 220%. If you activate a supernova attack that gives you plus 300%, it overrides the 220% and stays at 300%. They do not stack, they do not add on top of each other. So this is not as important just because of supernova attacks. In terms of the effects, really there's nothing going on here. It has damage plus 1 enemy or 0 parts left, which we talked about earlier, and that's probably the worst damage condition that we've been seeing lately. Because again, whenever you fight multiple enemies, you're going down to that 19.44 multiplier, which is actually pretty weak by today's standards. We like seeing things that are around the 20 to 21 range, so being brought down to a 19.44 on a new medal is not as great as it sounds. In terms of the supernova attack, it is going to buff you for 1 turn, and it gives speed medal strength plus 12,000, which is pretty good. Again, that's plus 12,000, plus 8,000 from the special attack. We're looking at 20,000 right there. With extra attack on this medal, we're looking at plus 28,000, and that's pretty crazy. That's even before any copy medals, any sort of supernova renew. So plus 28,000 on this medal alone is pretty good. It also gives special attack bonus plus 320%. Again, new standards that we're seeing here. So the new standard is going to be strength that's around 49,000, a special attack that gives plus 8,000 metal strength to a particular attribute, a supernova attack that gives plus 12,000 metal strength to a particular attribute, and then a supernova attack that gives special attack bonus plus 320%. But aside from those new standards that we've already seen with things like KR24 and Master Xehanort, this medal doesn't really do anything else. It doesn't do any sort of gauge restoration. It doesn't help you in PvP at all. Even the supernova attack doesn't do much. It really just gives you that plus 12,000 speed medal strength and that special attack bonus. So when we look at this medal and we look at all the missing fields on the template, the first thing you should think of is this is just a big beefy damage medal, and that's all it does. It doesn't give you any utility whatsoever, except for one exception that we're going to get to a little bit later. So overall, the medal is really not that impressive. In terms of the draw odds, nothing special about them. If you can't mercy the medal, don't pull for it. If you don't have 15,000 jewels by the time this campaign is over, don't pull for Xemnas B. It's never worth it to do 2 pulls here, 2 pulls there, 3 pulls here. It's worth it to just do 5 pulls at a time and invest in the right medals. Now, in terms of my thoughts and recommendations on this medal, it's a bad medal, truthfully. It's really only good for PvE. I don't think it's fantastic for raids. I don't think it's fantastic for PvP because it has no defense, piercing, or reflection whatsoever. So it's only really good for PvE, and the only strategy that you can really build around this medal is that you mow the enemy down, that you're just hopefully strong enough to run them over. This medal doesn't really give much support to any other medals aside from the self-buffing and then that plus 8,000 speed medal strength and plus 12,000 on the supernova attack. But a lot of medals already do that kind of stuff. So this really isn't anything special. It doesn't really add anything new that we care about. It's just a big, beefy reverse speed medal. Truly, the best effect that you can get out of this medal is that it makes it easier to pull off recovery buffing due to decreasing count by a lot. So remember what recovery buffing is. It's when you knock the enemy out, you activate its counterattack. The counterattack is just sheer damage. It knocks you out, and then you come back with HP recovery 1 or second chance, and you maintain your buffs. Remember that 1-turn buffers, if you get knocked out in the middle of your turn didn't end technically, so you maintain all of the buffs, which is pretty sweet. And considering that this medal will do 26 hits with extra attack, that makes recovery buffing really easy with this medal. However, With recovery buffing, the counterattacks have been getting a lot more intricate lately. So for example, they'll hit you with a status ailment, or they'll put you to sleep, or they will debuff you. It'll do a lot of different things to you that make decreasing count and recovery buffing not as good as it was back in the day. So really, that's the only utility you're getting out of this medal, the fact that it decreases count, but on average, we like to keep the count up. We like to make sure that we are not knocked out and hit with poison, because when you recover, you just die by poison again. So on average, recovery buffing isn't as good as it used to be. So really, for me, this medal feels like a trial run for tier 11s, or it feels like tier 11 bait, so that by the time tier 11s come out, you don't have the jewels to pull for them. So tier 11s will likely have the same 49,000 strength. It'll maybe have a slightly better multiplier at around 20 to 21. It'll probably have the same metal strength boost, but it'll have a higher special attack bonus. And that's important because that's like a plus 50 to 70% bonus in terms of damage. So remember that tier 10s give an inherent 320% extra when that special attack is unlocked. Tier 11s will likely give an additional 380% or an extra 390% or maybe even 400% if they're feeling generous. And that's enough to completely override what makes damage metal special, which is going to be their high damage output. Remember that damage is the easiest mechanic to replace because they just got to give a higher strength stat, a better multiplier, or increase the tier of the medal. It's very easy to override damage medals, and unfortunately Xemnas B is just a huge damage medal. So when it comes to using this medal as a reverse speed staple, again, staples are medals that you're going to want to bring every single time you need that attribute. I really don't think he's a good staple. I truly think that Supernova ++ Kingdom Hearts 3 Vanitas and Supernova ++ Kingdom Hearts 3 Dark Riku are much better picks than Xemnas B, mainly because Vanitas and Dark Riku will give you more utility. Both of those medals give you any sort of PvP use. You can use their Supernova attack, you can use their special attack. That's going to help you a lot in PvP. Xemnas B really won't give you anything in terms of PvP. So not only that, but Vanitas also gives you next metal conversion into speed, which is great because you can take an already powerful power metal and then convert it to speed with Vanitas. If you go Xemnas B into a power metal, that power metal is not going to get any bonus that came off of the Xemnas B. So it's much better to use something like a Supernova ++ Kingdom Hearts 3 Vanitas or a Kingdom Hearts 3 Dark Riku over Xemnas B because they are just inherently better because of their package. Their overall metal is a lot better than Xemnas B. Remember that damage, again, is very easy, and it's usually the first mechanic that gets power crept on by new metals. So really, who should pull for this medal? I don't think anyone should. I wouldn't even recommend this to a new player as their staple at all, just because the medal is so bad, it's only damage, I don't see it lasting a long time, so realistically, I don't think anyone should pull for this. This medal is so bad that you're going to find yourself in so many scenarios where you're going to use a different medal that's much better than this. So for example, whenever you do PvE setups, like for example this week is Lady Luck, you're likely going to be using a Vanitas over this Xemnas B, or you're going to be using a Dark Riku over this Xemnas B. In terms of other medals, you're going to want to use other medals that don't affect count for some missions. So for example, you run into a final mission, big bonus challenge, you can get 1,000 jewels if you complete this, but the enemy's got like a 13 hit blue counter. You bring in Xemnas B and odds are you're going to get smacked with that counter attack real hard. So in that case, you sub out for a medal that doesn't affect count. There are medals that have better multipliers. So for example, Dark Riku, again, being able to crack a 25 multiplier. There's medals with better effects like next metal conversion or gauge healing. Again, going back to the fact that Vanitas is better than Xemnas B. So remember that staples are medals you're going to want to use for a long time. And unfortunately, Xemnas B, all they got to do is release tier 11s, and then any sort of reverse speed tier 11 is probably going to be better than Xemnas B instantly. So realistically, I say save your jewels for a better medal that's at least versatile. This is really only, again, good for PvE. So with that being said, that's the end of this video. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave them down in the comments below, and I'd be happy to answer when I have the time. If you'd like to join my Discord, get updates on when things are going on, or see these metal templates offline, go ahead and join. It's that link right below the screen. Just type it into your URL, and you are good to go. But that's all for now. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, until next time, take it easy.